Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Community Team Q&A. We do this every week, roughly at this time, whatever time this is where you are, 1500 UTC typically, so 4 o'clock in the UK or whatever it is elsewhere in the world. And the idea of this is you can ask us questions and we will seek to find the answers. I'm alone at the moment, but I'll be joined shortly by David Planella from the community team. My name's Alan, as you can see down the bottom there, and I'll be covering this hour of the community team Q&A. If you want to ask us questions, then the best way to do that is to go to our website, which is ubuntuonair.com. And at ubuntuonair.com, you'll see the video in the top half of the screen, and then down the bottom is a little chat box, and in that box is IRC basically, and that will take you to a IRC channel, which is #ubuntu-on-air, which is on the Freenode network. So just join that channel, ask your questions, and it's preferable if you prefix them with the word question, because then we can see them because they highlight in our IRC chat. If you've got a normal IRC client, then you can obviously point it at #ubuntu-on-air. Yeah, ask your questions in that room. Hello, David. How are you?
Hello. I'm good, thanks. I was just wrapping up another call. I'm trying to find time to snap something today, which, yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about this in a minute. All right.
So it might be worth mentioning the Snappy stuff we've been doing today. So for those who don't know, the 30-second pitch is Snap is a new packaging format that we're using in Ubuntu, and we've been running a thing called Snappy Playpen today, which is it's the name of a project on GitHub. If you go to github.com/ubuntu/snappy-playpen, you'll find all the project files that I'm talking about. And the idea behind this is we all get together and work through some of the issues and try and package up things that are of interest to us. So, for example, I've been packaging things that I'm interested in, like games and video editors and audio editors and stuff like that, whereas other people have been packaging up other things that are of interest to them. The idea behind it being that we exercise the Snappy packaging tools, find out where there are bugs or issues or gaps in functionality, and then we can file those bugs upstream. Ultimately, the end goal is that we have Snappy packages for popular applications, the kind of applications that you tend to use on your Ubuntu desktop. And we would pass those configuration files upstream to the project, and they could then upload those snaps to the Ubuntu store and make them available to users. Is that about right? Does that kind of cover it, I think?
Excellent, yeah. I might be a bit slow today with Snappy Playpen going on and notifications. My computer is being a bit slow. But yeah, I mean, I would only add to that one of the other goals as well is to well, while we are all working together on Snappifying apps, to have a good set of examples that we can reuse. So, for example, if you are packaging a GTK app, then you would be able to find, let's say, the GNOME calculator app in there, so that you have a template in which can help you bootstrap snapping your app.
Right. So having a GNOME snap and a KDE snap or a Qt snap, and one for other popular desktops as well, means that other people can pick those up and use them as a template, and then build upon those and package up other things. So the goal of this is we're not going to package everything. We're not creating the packaging for every single KDE app and every GNOME app, but a lot of it is reusable. So, for example, Michael Hall packaged up Krita, which is a rather cool graphical drawing program. And the configuration that he used for Krita, I was able to reuse for Kdenlive, another KDE application. And similarly, someone packaged up GNOME Calculator. I think Sebastian packaged up GNOME Calculator. And so we can reuse that for another GNOME application. So I think once we've got coverage of a bunch of common applications, there may be some edge cases that we don't cover, but there'll be a bunch that we can get easy wins on by reusing these Snappy configurations. And they are just plain text files that you can edit in a text editor and then run a program called Snapcraft, which creates your Snappy package, and it's quite good fun.
All right. So yeah, I mean, today the Playpen has been working pretty well. Actually, we've seen quite a lot of the Snap team engineers joining in as well, and some other community members as well. Just to what I find remarkable as well is that even before we had added, or even before we had started the Playpen, that was last week. It was like 1 hour after the announcement, we got the first application submitted to the scope. Community member, Reinhold, I can't remember his surname right now off the top of my head, submitted a Java application. Some parts of it weren't working, so we've been looking at it since Friday actually. But we've had other cool apps being submitted, such as Etherpad Lite from Vincent Jobar, who, by the way, just celebrated the Playpen by publishing a full tutorial on Snapcraft in French, of course. But that was really, really good. So if you're a French speaker, be sure to check out on the Snappy Playpen channel, which I just submitted on IRC, and you'll find Vincent's tutorial in there. Otherwise, you'll find it on his Google Plus account, or I think we shared it this morning as well on the Plus Ubuntu social media account on Google Plus. So I see Alan wants to say something.
Sorry, go on. No, I thought you were just about to finish speaking. Sorry, go on.
Now, I was just going to say, just to wrap up, we've seen quite a lot of excitement going on the Snappy Playpen. We saw Mark Shuttleworth coming to the Playpen and saying hi from Tokyo this morning, whichever time it was on his time zone. And we had other really cool apps being snapped, such as VLC by David Kalle. David Kalle is not afraid of taking up such apps as VLC, or recently I've heard that he's trying to package Blender. So yeah, lots of cool things going on in the Snappy Playpen.
Sweet. And one thing that we're testing out with this, something we haven't used before, which is Gitter. And as DPM said, he's posted the link in the channel. It's gitter.im/ubuntu/snappy-playpen, and it's a kind of futuristic chat thing like IRC on crack, with emoticons, and it's got integration into GitHub. And because we're using GitHub for the Snappy Playpen, we thought it'd be good to use that because it integrates nicely. It's quite nice. It's got notifications that can bug you, and you can turn those off. So I turned them off.
Excellent. So yeah, it was also an easy way for us to set up a communication channel for the Playpen, because of what Poppy was saying, integration as well. However, we're both on Gitter and on the Snappy channel on IRC, and we're watching both. Yeah.
So it's not that we're moving off of IRC necessarily to that. It just seemed like a good idea for a 24-hour, hackathon kind of thing, to get everyone in the same place. And it also means that anyone who joins, I believe if you join partway through the day, you get the scroll back as well.
Yes.
So you can see, what previously happened, which you wouldn't get if you just joined a random IRC channel.
Cool. All right, and then to wrap up the updates on the Playpen, let me just go back to the repo, and I can tell you about actually all of the apps that have been submitted during the Playpen. Now, if you can find the tab where that is, bear with me. All right, well, that's loading. I can actually tell you a few off the top of my head. As I said before, we've had VLC submitted today, and I've actually been testing the VLC app from David Callen. We've also had, and VLC, obviously, for those of you who don't know, it is the very, very popular video and audio player. That's cross-platform as well, meaning not only Linux, but also on Windows and I think Mac OS as well, if I remember correctly. At least I remember some discussions a while ago. We've had LivePad as well. This is a text editor for Ubuntu. So that's one that's going to be very useful to flavors. We've had that OpenGDK demo that I was mentioning earlier on. That's the Java app or a set of example apps for Java Swing. We've had SM Player as well, which I think, and Bobby will correct me if I'm wrong here, I think it's used by Ubuntu, certainly by some flavor. Again,
video player alternative to VLC, not as comprehensive as VLC, but a nice GUI video player.
Excellent. And we've had Dan Chapman as well of Deco fame, actually providing us with a sneak peek of Deco as a snap. The last I heard, and that was a couple of hours ago, Deco was working and he was looking at demonizing the, can't remember which part of it was, but making sure that one of the Deco components could run in the background on the desktop.
Yeah, and it's quite handy that Dan Chapman, he's the upstream for Deco, that he's actually working on the Snap. We kind of worked on it together, and he's now taken that over because he can now upload those to the store. Once he gets it built and he's done some tests and he's happy with the Snap of Deco, he can push that to the store anytime he likes. He can build his own QA process around that. He could have multiple versions of Deco. He could have an unstable branch, and users can choose to use the unstable branch, or he could only submit the stable branch if he wants to. And that's the same for any developer who wants to upload snaps to the store. You can have multiple versions in the store, multiple architectures as well. So if you want to have snaps on AMD 64 and i386 and also ARMHF for the 2 or 3 people who have an ARMHF tablet or laptop, then you could do that as well. The thing that I find interesting about this is, and a compelling argument for snaps, is being able to package up fast-moving applications and utilities and tools. So, for example, there's a few that I'm keen on having is tools like FFmpeg, which are constantly updated with changes in codecs or bug fixes to improve the encoding and decoding of video, that kind of stuff. And something like FFmpeg, which is used by lots of other projects, would be a useful thing to have as a part either that other people can include in their packages. So as an example, David Calais made a YouTube DL snap. YouTube DL is a super popular tool for downloading videos from video sharing sites. Check terms and conditions if you're allowed to do that. But in the YouTube DL snap, he's used the FFmpeg part that I made for the FFmpeg snap. So you could just extract the part that you need, and he needed the FFmpeg part for YouTube DL as it's a dependency of YouTube DL. And similarly, when I was making the Kdenlive snap, I just copy and pasted the FFmpeg part into the Kdenlive snap configuration. So that's now building with FFmpeg from tip of GitHub and Kdenlive from tip of KDE's Git repository as well. and that kind of thing. But having developers being able to upload the very latest, bleeding edge of their code and get that out to their users super fast is quite a compelling argument, which is why I find this quite exciting.
Indeed, and also fast in terms of doing your first ever snap as well. I mean, obviously, to set the expectations, you won't get to do this with all of the snaps for bigger things such as GIMP, which, by the way, has been submitted to the Playpen as well. This is an effort that might take a bit longer. These are complex applications, but for apps which are reasonably complex, we can put together a snap in a couple of days, or in some cases in one day, as we've been doing today. However, one of the things that we're recommending everyone is to use dev mode confinement for now, at least to get the effort bootstrapped, so that apps are temporarily bypassing security enforcement. Being quite honest, there's still some work being done on interfaces, meaning in the ways in which applications can access the system resources, and not for all of the apps, all of the interfaces are available. So this is also good. The Playpen is also a good way to have that conversation with the Snap developers on which requirements there are for interfaces. But in any case, the Snap team are producing new interfaces each week. So there's a good chance that the interface that you're needing is already on their pipeline. But anyway, I think that's an important conversation to have as well for you as a Snap developer.
Cool. Should we stop talking about Snap and do some questions?
Yay!
So the first question is, what snaps do you use?
All right. So for me personally, I use the Notes app or the Notes Snap. The Notes app is a Qt-based notes-taking application because, of course, I needed one. And this one snap that I worked on with Upstream a while ago. That was a pre-Snappy Playpen initiative, and it's been actually a pleasure to work with these guys. Another one that I'm using is the Ubuntu Clock app and the Ubuntu Calculator app. The Clock app perhaps a bit less. It was more like a proof of concept type of thing that to test that phone apps could be snaps and be run on the desktop. The Calculator app I actually use quite often. And I just installed the VLC app literally today while I was testing it, so I haven't really used it that much, but these are the main snaps that I'm using right now.
So I've just done snap list to see what I have installed, and if you can hear me over my cat, most of the ones that I've got installed, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 snaps installed. Most of the ones that I've got installed are ones that I'm working on. So I'm working on one for the multi-arcade machine emulator main. I'm also working on one for Inkscape and one for the flight simulator software Flight Gear. So all of those are currently in progress. I have them all installed, but they're all in various states of working or not. And also, as I mentioned earlier, Kden Live. I'm interested in having a snap of Kden Live so I can have the latest of that application. From the store, I've got from David Calais, I've got YouTube DL because I use that quite a lot. And Mindtest as well, because I like playing with Mindtest. It's a silly 3D game that I like playing with.
Cool. All right. So I've just copied Poppy, and I've just done a snap list as well. Another one that I've got. I haven't been using it for a while actually, but it worked pretty well when I installed it and I started testing it. I should actually start using it more. There's the Hangups Electron-based web app that someone uploaded to the store. And it's essentially a client for Google Hangouts. So that's a pretty neat one that anyone could try.
Cool.
Okay, so we've got Andrew Hazen with the next Snap-related question. When will all the core apps be snapped, if that hasn't been asked yet?
That's a good question. So we're doing them piecemeal, and we're learning about them as we go. So David has already done, as you mentioned earlier, clock and calculator, and Dan's working on Deco. I hope to have the Notes app, which uses Evernote, snapped soon, and the others will follow shortly. There's not quite so much of a pressing need now, as in today. It's now possible, if you're running the Unity 8 desktop on a laptop, you can now install Clicks. So all those apps that are core apps are all currently still available as Clicks, and so can be installed from the store as Clicks. And soon we will move the phone to Snaps, but that will happen a bit later. But it's still good to have them all in the store for desktop users. And we will do that as time permits and as we figure out all the things that are broken that need fixing.
All right. There's another question from Since 1877. I found this Bugzilla, and there's a link to the kernels Bugzilla. If I deal with bugs and solve them there, shall they filter through to Ubuntu generic kernel with the next release? I'd say in principle, yes, but I'm not too familiar anymore with the workflow for the kernel. But essentially, if you fix the bug upstream, then it will trickle down to Ubuntu eventually. You can, generally, generally it's safe to say that this will get into Ubuntu's next release. However, it all depends also on where we are in the cycle and which version of that particular upstream will be chosen for the next Ubuntu release.
Right. It depends where that was fixed, and whether we cherry pick that and whether that bug applied. Because some bugs that get fixed upstream don't apply to us because maybe we don't compile that option in to our kernel. So, for example, sometimes you'll see a security bug notification go out that affects maybe some other distributions, or affects the upstream kernel, but it might not affect Ubuntu because it might be in a feature that we don't enable. Or sometimes it works the other way, and there are bugs that only affect us because we have features that we enable that other people don't. But in general, we take the kernel from upstream, patch it, and then distribute that to our users. So yes, if you modify the upstream kernel, then eventually that will make its way down to us.
All right. Another question from, I can't read the name from here. It's all yellow. Pewpopo. I use the Krita snap, but it does not start. Does it work for you? I haven't been testing it recently, so I cannot really tell you. Poppy, have you been testing Krita?
I have it installed, and I just tried running it, and somewhere a window appeared. Maybe it. Oh, there it is. Yes, I have a Krita window on my screen. So yes, it does work.
All right. There you go. It might be worth checking, perhaps, if you've got the latest Snapd packages up to date. Without knowing more detail, that's perhaps a good thing to check. Another question: can I have paid apps to sell in the store? As far as I remember, you can't yet, but but it's on the roadmap. I was going to tell you a date, but I've forgotten it right now. I mean, what we said was that it would be some months after the 16.04 release. I'd need to double check or talk to the online services guys, but in any case, soon you'll be able to have paid apps in the store.
Super. Next question is from Nightmare, who asks, do you know if anyone from Valve has plans to snap Steam? No, I do not know if anyone from Valve has plans to snap Steam. I'm not sure if it makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, you could snap. You could make a snap out of the Steam like stub, but Steam updates itself. It has its own self-updating system. It doesn't use a PPA for updating their application. It internally checks for updates and then installs them and relaunches and so on. So in theory, you could package up the stub, and the stub could go and look for updates to Steam and install it all within that confined area. But I expect that would break because Steam doesn't expect to be in that confined area and will probably try and reach outside to various places. But I haven't tested that. It would need some work. Yeah, someone could try and see what happens, because you can just grab the Steam deb and you could make a snap out of that. I'm not sure it's super worthwhile because, as I said, they have their own internal Steam update system, so I'm not sure that there's super value in that.
All right. Since 1877 is asking, do you think we should have a warning about Ubuntu Europe and ungovernable attacks that might transpire? I think general advice for anyone traveling to Europe or anyone else to have a look at their government tourism pages, which warn you whether it is safe to travel to a particular territory. Being an European, of course, I'm worried about attacks, but speaking personally, but there's not something that really affects my daily life right now. Being quite honest, as general advice. But however, I would definitely recommend you to check the authoritative sources before traveling. And one thing that we can do is to add links to that. But depending on the country where you're traveling from, it would quickly become unwieldy for us to have a list of all of those sites.
Right.
But perhaps it might be worth just adding a notice recommending that, perhaps not particularly for the one in Europe, but perhaps for every UbuCon or any event that we're organizing.
Right. It's funny. As a European citizen, I don't consider this place to be that particularly dangerous. So when I've traveled in Europe, I don't check the government recommended travel advice for going to Prague or Spain or Germany or whatever, because it just feels pretty safe. But yeah, if you feel that way, then check it.
Yeah.
Next question: how can I use a talk app in the Ubuntu community on Ubuntu Touch if I don't want to insert a SIM phone card? So the default applications that we have on Ubuntu Phone, the phone app assumes that you're going to be making phone calls using the GSM network. We don't currently have SIP-based or other WebRTC-based protocols baked into that. I know there is a plan for a unified messaging system, and I know there's been discussion about baking things like SIP and WebRTC into the phone so that you can use the phone without a SIM card. So you could just connect to whatever Wi-Fi provider you have and use whatever open protocol like SIP or WebRTC you want to do instead of using GSM. We don't currently have that. It's not done. I believe it's on the roadmap at some point amongst all the other things.
All right, so Andrew Hazen is asking, is it still possible to install Unity 8 in an LXC container on the desktop so that you don't need to add PPS to your stable desktop to try out Unity 8? Or was this dropped due to AppArmor / LXC issues? So the short answer is you should be using the archive packages, which don't use LXC container. However, I think you can technically still use the LXC containers, but we dropped it just because of the reason of maintenance. Essentially, there were two ways of installing Unity 8, or sorry, the Unity 8 session on the desktop on 1604. The one with LXC and the one that just integrates with the rest of your system without any containers. And we decided for the latter simply because it was more in line with what we will be doing post 1604, as in Unity 8 will be running without containers. Not because of any particular AppArmor LXC issues, although I think there were some bugs which were tricky to solve. But mostly the main reason was to just have the one way to install Unity 8 rather than having to maintain two.
Okay. Next question. Why isn't Balloons on here anymore? That's one for you, David.
All right. So first of all, Balloons is still here. He didn't fly away.
We kept him hidden in a box.
Exactly. So you might have, if you follow his blog, you might have seen that he actually switched teams. He went onto the Juju team's trenches, and he's now tech lead of Juju QA. So as you know, Nick was the Ubuntu Community Team QA liaison, and he's been interested more and more on making an impact on how Ubuntu, and in particular Juju in this case, tackles QA and essentially defining the QA story more from the trenches, as I was saying. But he's still there. You can ping him on. He's not on this channel. Let me check. He might actually be. So he's not on the Ubuntu on Air channel, but he's certainly on the Ubuntu Community Team channel. He's still part of the extended Ubuntu Community Team, and feel free to ping him and ask him how things are going on the Juju side of things.
He still ninja joins our meetings sometimes, like infiltrates our meetings to find out what's going on and to pass on what's going on in his part of the company as well. I think that's one of the things that's quite nice about Canonical is if you feel like you want to do something else within the company, it is possible to move around, and there are plenty of people who've moved from one role to another. It's not the case that, with some companies where you're employed to do one job and you stay there and you never move. There's a lot of people in Canonical who've moved around from one role to another. And I know George used to be in the community team, George Castro. He's now over on the cloud side, and now Balloons has gone that way as well.
All right. Nightmare is asking, do you know how 4K support is coming for Unity 8? I don't, to be honest. Do you, Bobby?
No, I don't actually. That's a good question. But in theory, it should be, resolution agnostic because of the way we use grid units. So in theory, we shouldn't have to worry too much about that because the user interface should scale for massively high resolution screens. Although I think 4K probably isn't seen as massively high resolution anymore. It is for me, but that's interesting. I'll ask. I don't think anyone has run Unity 8 on something that huge. I think most of us, the maximum we've run Unity 8 on is a 1080p or maybe a high DPI MacBook Air or something like that. I don't think anyone's tried it on something higher than that. Maybe they have, and I don't know. But the Unity 8 team would be the people to ask. So now you've got me curious. I want to know, so I'm going to go and ask them.
Yeah. All right. Next, we've got. Actually, I just got a ping we just got a ping from Balloons. Unrelated to that, but as we were talking about this.
Oh, really? You see, he's listening in. He knows.
No, he's saying something. We have a Kernel Community Team Telegram group, and he's still in there. I just saw him pinging. All right, so
this question is from since 1877. When shall USB sticks be back available in the store? And wasn't it obvious these would be oversubscribed? When are they returning to the canonical store? Because this is a bottleneck. I don't know. We can ask the people who look after the store and ask them when the USB sticks will be back in stock. I'll drop them a mail now while David answers the next question.
Sure. All right. So just to add something on this one, I know that we were looking at having new USB sticks that have bootable images of Ubuntu, also to send to local teams as well. And I know that this is still ongoing. There were some problems with the supplier, but I haven't checked again for the last couple of weeks, so this might have changed.
Yeah, it's showing as coming soon and not available at the moment, but I'll email and find out.
Alrighty, so next question from Andrew Heisen. Random thought, as we are moving away from cycle-based releases towards Snappy, is there a central place where translators can see which projects have an upcoming update and therefore need translations to be done? Currently, we have a ping mailing list of the translations to tell them we're about to release, but I wonder if there's a better solution for the future. As an example, using milestone dates on LP and having a page that lists untranslated projects in order to release, in order of release date or something. Yeah, there's quite a lot of things to sync on Snappy. I think this is not just related to how we do releases for Snappy. I think there's some room for improvement in the way that we do OTA releases and translation updates. This is nothing new. I think we've had this similar question throughout the Ubuntu projects live, and in some cases it has been about us or developer being creative on how to announce updates and how to list untranslated projects. Quite honestly, I don't have a silver bullet for that. I think the suggestion in there of using milestones is a good one, but the challenge that we've got in there is to link up that with a list of untranslated projects. A while ago, I started a translations dashboard for the phone, which unfortunately I haven't been able to keep that much up to date. Most of it should be up to date in terms of it being updated automatically daily, but I haven't been keeping up in adding new projects or new translatable projects for that.
Is that something you could share, put the code somewhere and someone else could run a copy of that somewhere? It sounds like something someone in the community who's interested in translations might be interested in running.
Yes, I have, but unfortunately we hadn't had much traction on that. We did actually have interest from some Ubuntu translators, but most of our translators are not developers, and they were finding from the feedback, they were finding it a bit difficult to delve into the code. So anyway, these are my thoughts right now. I think this would be certainly an area where we could need some developer help. And I think what I'll do is I'll just go quiet for a bit. I'll let Poppy tackle the next question, and I'll paste the links on the on IRC.
Oh, right. Yeah, you let me have the next question, which is any movement
Which one
on
is
the
it?
HUD.
There you go.
So yeah, Chloe Wolfie Girl, who usually asks this question every week, someone else has asked on her behalf. No, as far as I know, nothing. So the next question is a question for me, asking how am I voting in the EU referendum? So for those who don't know, I mean, you must be living under a rock, but the UK government has called a vote, which is on the 23rd of June, I think, which is soon. And it's a referendum among UK population to vote to leave the European Union or stay in the European Union. And I personally am voting to stay. There's your answer. Next question from Nightmare. Would it be possible to snap a desktop environment, e.g. Unity, IDE, GNOME, the entire desktop? I think possibly in theory you could make like one gigantic snap that had like the entire world in that one snap. It would be pretty offensive to download and update, and I think it might be a bit impractical. It would be an interesting exercise to try, but I'm not sure there's super value in doing that. I think it makes more sense to compartmentalize things and have individual applications which you could update separately. So for example, let's say, for example, you run Ubuntu GNOME and the upstream developers make some changes and release a new version of GNOME Calendar, for example, and you're really super keen on having that new version of GNOME Calendar. It would be nice to just upgrade GNOME Calendar and not have to upgrade your entire stack and not have to download a 800 megabyte snap to get the whole desktop just because you want the latest version of Calendar. So while as a technical exercise it might be interesting and fun, for some value of fun, and also a good way to make the fan spin on your laptop while building this thing, ultimately I don't think it's a super useful exercise. What do you think, David? Haha. What do you think, David? Did I throw you in there? You're distracted by other things.
Sorry, I was trying to. My computer wasn't being too responsive, and I was trying to dig out the code for the translation stats code, which I'm just pasting.
So just say you agree with me, and that's fine.
Okay, I'll trust you. I do.
Okay, good. So the next question is there an Uber Ubuntu Edge crowdfunding app out there somewhere in the world, still kindling our aspirations to get a new Uber phone? I don't think there's any plans to run any crowdfunding campaigns. We did the Edge a few years ago. We didn't get the full amount. So I think Mark's been asked that question a few times, and he's always said there's no plans to do another one like that, but instead work on a bunch of devices and have those available through whatever retail channels the hardware partners choose. Next up, Chloe asks, have there been any questions about the HUD? Yes. Since 1877 asks, what's happening with getting Ubuntu Discourse sorted out? He pinged George Castro on Discourse, who has just asked in the IRC. So they're now discussing that in IRC. So Discourse was a site that we set up, and we posted a message on there saying we were considering shutting it down, and there hasn't been a huge amount of discussion on the site. People have discussed moving the content somewhere else, hosting it somewhere else, setting up a new Discourse, or something else. They're discussing that right now anyway.
All right. Chloe is asking next. There's going to be integration with music and messaging. Will there be integration with other apps like Gallery? And I'm assuming that that's related to the hub, but as we cannot really give you any updates today on the hub, I'm not sure we can answer that one either. But certainly there's potential for integration with other applications.
Okay.
See, I think the next one is from Chloe again. When will we get some main app updates? It feels like it's been a while since we've had app updates. Through that, though that might be because I'm usually on RC. Well, funny you asked that, because Poppy told me this morning that it's got some cool updates lined up.
Yeah, there's a few updates I've got stacked up that I need to put into the store for some of the core apps. So keep your eyes peeled and look in system settings updates regularly from like towards the end of the week. Because some of these app updates need to go through QA, so we can't just upload them directly to the store. So we'll put them through QA, make sure they pass, and then we'll upload them to the store later in the week.
Cool. All right. Next question again from Chloe. Will snaps let us change themes, backgrounds, and other customizability? I cannot read that. Sorry. Customizability things you can do in other OSs like Android. I'd say, I mean, it's the ability to change themes is not directly related to the Snap architecture. I mean, this is more a feature of the underlying OS. I would think that that snaps themselves would not really mess up with the system that much. You have to think as snaps as being on top of the platform, and then the platform itself being in charge of the theme. I'd say if themes are interchangeable, then they might be interchangeable within the apps. That said, I know that there's work going on interfaces for snaps and on the ability of setting themes for, let's say, GTK apps. So there might be some movement in that regard soon. But yeah, it's a bit of a tricky question, and it's a bit tricky to answer as well. But let's say you should think of snaps as something on top of the system rather than them being able to change the system.
I think you may have skipped over one from Nightmare, who says, "Can you snap a snap?"
Well, yes, you can. I'm not sure how useful that would be. Essentially, you can stage an existing snap within another snap, but I don't really see a use case for that, to be honest. So technically it's possible. Whether it makes sense then, well, it's up to you.
Guest 93445, do we have that many guests? Asks, are snaps a replacement for PPAs? That's not the primary goal, but that's certainly one of the side benefits of snaps, is that you can that app developers can deploy applications out to their users quickly and easily without their users having to go and hunt down PPAs. And those PPAs may have been created by the developer, or they may have been created by some random well-meaning third party. You don't know, and that's one of the risks that people often take when they add PPAs. PPAs are great, don't get me wrong, I have loads enabled on my system, but there are some significant benefits with not using PPAs. You know, some of the other distros certainly lobby us to tell us how much better their system is where they don't have PPAs. For example, AUR in Arch is seen as a progressive, forward-thinking way to deploy apps to their customers, and you can think of Snaps a little bit like that, being able to have bleeding-edge stuff straight from the developer to users. So, yeah, it you know, in a few years, maybe PPAs will be less popular, and maybe I don't think PPAs are going away, but you know, maybe they'll be less popular because snaps have benefits that PPAs don't have. So who knows? That's just my opinion.
All right. Next question from, sorry, I'm just trying to track where we are right now. I think the next question is from Andrew Hazen again. Due to Snappy using AB partitioning, when we get system updates, will that mean that we will have to reboot to install this? Or will we be able to have live system updates? I've forwarded the question actually to the Snappy team because I couldn't answer it right now. I know that I tried system updates on my Raspberry 2 a while ago, but I cannot really remember whether I had to reboot or not. But I don't know, Poppy, are you more familiar with this, perhaps?
I don't know how that works. I don't know the intricacies of Snapd and how the updates work. So sorry.
Yeah. And one thing that to mention as well is that lately, at least from the community team, we've been mostly focused on the Snappy working on the desktop, where AB partitioning is not yet implemented. So we don't really have the experience. But I'm hoping that someone on the Snappy channel, where I posted the question, can help us answer that.
I think you skipped one from...
Yes, since 1877.
Yes. How do we specifically find bugs on lag for Nexus 4 and 7 phablets? So yes, there are some performance issues with some of the devices. Some of the newer ones, like this one, are a lot faster. But some of the older ones do lag a little bit in things like scrolling and launching applications and so on. We do have some bugs filed for those. There's also a team working on performance across the board. Typically a bug that specifically affects the Nexus 7 or Nexus 4 will typically have the code name in. So the code name for the Nexus 7, for example, is Flow, FLO. So you'll probably find bugs that have the word flow and the word performance in. So you can certainly search Launchpad for flow and performance, or Unity flow and performance, that kind of stuff. Should be fairly easy to find. The other option is to just file a bug if there's a specific performance issue. We kind of know about them because they've been there for a while, and the guys are working on that. But if you have a specific issue that you think we don't know about, sure, file a bug. Next question from Chloe asks, Popey, can we have a device reveal this Q&A? So often people ask us on this Q&A, what's the next device going to be? And we don't know is like the straight answer. We don't know. And even if we did know, we couldn't tell you. So I can show you the last device that was made available because I bought one, but I don't know what the next device is. Don't tell anyone, but I hear a rumor there is another device coming soon. I don't know anything about it.
As well, we'll quote you on that.
But I will be jumping on the store just like everybody else, like hammering the F5 key to wait until it comes in stock.
Right.
Chloe asks, have there been any updates with the Firefox Snap? I don't know about that actually.
No, I know that we're in touch with the Mozilla guys, but I'm not sure when we last talked about this. Just to say that this is still ongoing work. I haven't been directly involved in it for quite a while, but we can find out perhaps for the next Q&A.
Next question, as we're running low on time, we only have a couple of questions left. Nightmare asks, ButterFS versus ZFS or ZFS. Where does the future lie? I'd like to think Btrfs on lower end machines and ZFS on big data stuff, I think. So a mix, both.
Okay. I'm not a big expert on file systems, so I'll skip my opinion on that one.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, which is why I have this ridiculous opinion about them. Other people seem very passionately in favor of one or the other. Finally, Chloe asks, have either of you used XMPP somewhat recently? How is it? I hear a lot of things have brought it much more up to date with competing apps like WhatsApp and Telegram, but I have little ideas over XMPP. I just pretend I do. I haven't used XMPP directly for years.
Same here. I used to use it, especially when we used to have empathy integration with XMPP. We probably still do have it, but I've been using it for quite a while.
Right. I mean, I have instant messengers signed in to, the clients signed into these things, but nobody ever contacts me on them because everyone has switched to Telegram and Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and, Slack and everything else. So whether it's good or not, I wouldn't know because nobody uses it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I personally think XMPP was ahead of its time at some point, but then it got. It's when Google stopped using it for Hangouts and when other protocols came up. I think it got a bit stuck in that time. So I might be wrong actually from what you're saying, but that's at least the perception that I have.
Next question from Chloe. What do you think or want the next Ubuntu phone will be? I know a phishing attempt when I see one. Fishing for details there. I want something smaller but fast with long battery life. That's what I want. I want the unicorn phone. Fits in my pocket, runs forever, and I can open a million apps at once.
That's actually pretty similar to what I want as well. And I would add there as well that it's the convergent phone. I mean, to me personally, I'd really like to have a convergent phone rather than a tablet, but I'm speaking of me personally. But however, I can see how attractive it is to be able to essentially, well, I wouldn't say carry your tablet in your pocket, but being able to use
your pocket file.
Exactly, yeah. Or so I lost my train of thought now. What I was going to say is that I can see how attractive it could be to use a tablet as your daily device and only have that, even if you don't have to connect it to an external monitor.
Cool. Okay, we've got one last question. Have any major projects decided to start snapping like Mozilla? So we have a Snapcraft mailing list, and every so often we'll get an email on that list from some random developer who says, hey, I'm snapping up my application. And often this is a complete surprise to us because we're not necessarily in any kind of commercial engaged relationship with these people. So it's quite nice to see that. So I think the best place to discover things like that is on the Snapcraft mailing list, because then you'll see the same kind of emails that surprise us as well.
Excellent. And yeah, you might have heard earlier on the call we talked about Krita making their Snap available on their website as well.
Cool. Okay, I think we're out of questions and we're pretty much out of time. So just leaves us to say thank you for all your super questions and comments and discussion. And join us again next week. If you want to know when the next one is, you'll find out if you go to Ubuntu On Air. There's a calendar link at the top, or you could just subscribe to Ubuntu On Air on YouTube and on Twitter.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
See you all next week.
Thanks, Bobby. All right.